When I was a kindergartner, a common question to be asked was, what do you want to be when you grow up? One time I was asked this question, and I remember responding that I would like to be an astronaut. Later on in my childhood, it was helicopter pilot and then forest ranger, but nonetheless, I have still kept an inherent fascination with space and space travel. There's something so goddamn cool to me about space, and I don't even think this video will fully convey this. The space shuttle was what I grew up with. The program was shut down when I was 8, but I still have distinct memories of it. One time, some relatives visited my family, and they brought back some souvenirs from the Kennedy Space Center in the late 2000s, probably like 2009 or so. I was given a little wind-up toy of a space shuttle. I knew the design, but didn't really know what it was until one of my older cousins told me it was supposed to be a space shuttle. I was too young to understand what that was, but I knew that it took astronauts into space. Before that, I knew space was real, but I had not comprehended that people actually went into space. It was a little bit mind-blowing. Later on in 2012, two formative moments happened in my understanding and investment in space. On August 16th, 2012, the Curiosity rover landed on Mars. 8-year-old me didn't even know that such a thing was possible. I remember my dad or my grandpa turning on the TV, and it was either a broadcast of mission control or something else while the landing was happening, or a news report or something. I knew Mars was a planet, but I now knew that we as a species could literally send something to it. It was such a fantastical idea to me, and I loved it. Then, on October 14th, 2012, I remember watching a live broadcast or a news report or something of the Red Bull Stratos. Some of you may remember this. Basically, some Austrian madman named Felix Baumgartner, funded by Red Bull, was lifted into the stratosphere, and he just jumped, falling down to Earth and parachuted down to the surface of the Earth safely. Certainly this wasn't the most groundbreaking event, but it was so cool to me. I mean, even though he wasn't really, to me, he was in space. A couple years after this time, I discovered Vsauce while browsing YouTube on my dad's old iPhone 3GS. I realize now I understood like a quarter of the content in his videos, but I loved them. They showed me a side of science, and specifically astrophysics and physics, and even philosophy that I had never been exposed to before. Videos like, why don't animals have wheels? Why are we all related? Is the 5-second rule true? What if we were born in space? Are we ready for aliens? And what will we miss? And so many others blew my fucking mind. Vsauce was my first YouTube channel I ever watched, and it got me hooked on the platform. I eventually found Vsauce 2. I was confused at the time, like, why is there a second one? Either way, I binge watched like all of his Mind Blow series. I'm sad that he hasn't made a Mind Blow video in like 4 years, but anyways, these videos helped educate me on the current state of technology at the time, and it was captivating. Fast forward to 2020, and more specifically the summer of 2020, I was stuck inside a lot of the time, working occasionally at a family friend's business, feeling like there wasn't much to look forward to since I feel like anything could be canceled at any time. I remembered a place called Space Camp that I vaguely remembered knowing about as a kid. I looked it up, found the website, and got to looking at the prices for the camp. I did the math and figured out I could attend the high school level camp and pay for it by saving money for the rest of the summer. So that's exactly what I did. My family generously paid for the plane tickets and other expenses, but I paid for the camp myself. Come July of 2021, and it was time to go to Space Camp. It was my first time on a plane since I was like a baby. Eventually, I arrived at Space Camp and met the coolest people I've ever met. I saw so much cool shit that I can't even really do it justice. They had a full-scale replica of a Saturn V rocket outside and an actual Saturn V rocket in the museum part. They had real spacesuits worn during the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo programs. I got to converse with other people my age who knew space topics. I took part in mock space missions where I had to perform tasks on the ISS in the cockpit of the space shuttle, perform a leadership role in mission command for a speculative future Mars mission. It was basically fucking heaven. I look back on it as my best purchase ever. I want to go back to the US Space and Rocket Center where Space Camp is held really bad. It's basically my own, like, Disneyland. This December, meaning December of 2022, one of the most important rocket launches of the 21st century so far took place. The first flight of the Space Launch System and the first successful Artemis mission, the modern-day continuation of the Apollo program. With Artemis ramping up, we will see humans back on the moon within my lifetime and probably yours. The first person of color and woman will go to the moon, hopefully on Artemis 3. There are other aspects of modern space that I'm excited for as well. As much as Elon Musk is a person that I have grown to have great disdain for various reasons, I can't help but be a SpaceX fanboy. Starship is like literally the coolest rocket in development right now, and I can't wait for it to be used in the Artemis program. ULA, the United Launch Alliance, is probably going to launch Vulcan, a massive heavy lift rocket, within the next couple years. Perseverance, the Mars rover, which was launched a couple years ago, is still on Mars making discoveries. I mean, there is so much happening with space, and I love it. Nothing else has inspired me more than space and space travel.